Have you ever stared at something so impossible it rearranges your whole world in an instant? I was in our bedroom, the afternoon sun slanting through the blinds, casting stripes across the hardwood floor. I was just looking for a spare phone charger in my wife Sarah's vanity drawer, a mundane Sunday task. But my fingers brushed against a small velvet box tucked away beneath a pile of expired makeup palettes. Inside, nestled on a cushion of white satin, was a wedding ring. It was a simple, elegant platinum band, almost identical to the one I placed on her finger 6 years ago at the Chicago Botanic Garden. But it wasn't the same. It was new. And I knew with a certainty that froze the blood in my veins that it wasn't for me. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from, what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The beginning of the end started subtly. It wasn't a sudden explosion, but a slow, creeping rot. Sarah and I had been the golden couple. We met at Northwestern, two ambitious kids who fell hard and fast. We built a life together in a beautiful brownstone in Lincoln Park. I was a financial analyst. She was a rising star at a downtown marketing firm. But about a year ago, the gold started to tarnish. It began with her work trips. They became more frequent, longer. "It's this new campaign, babe," she'd say, her voice tired over the phone from a hotel in what she claimed was Denver or Austin. "The team is just grinding." I believed her. Why wouldn't I? Then came the humiliation, small cuts that bled me dry. At a company dinner, one of her colleagues, a smarmy guy named Mark, made a joke. "Sarah's our road warrior," he said with a wink, his hand lingering a little too long on her back. "We practically have to chain her to her desk when she's in Chicago." Everyone laughed. I forced a smile, but a cold dread coiled in my gut. He looked at me with an unearned familiarity, a smugness that I couldn't place but deeply disliked. Sarah just laughed it off, pulling me closer. "Don't mind Mark," she whispered. "He's just an idiot." But the image of his hand on her, his proprietary smirk, it burned into my memory. Her behavior grew stranger. She became fiercely protective of her phone, which was now perpetually face down or in her pocket. Late-night work emails became a common excuse for her to be hunched over her laptop in the living room long after I'd gone to bed. One evening, I walked in to get a glass of water, and she slammed her laptop shut so fast, the sound echoed in the silent house. "Just finishing a presentation," she said, her heart clearly racing. The explanation was plausible, but her reaction was pure panic. The woman I married, the one who shared every silly thought and every deep fear with me, was suddenly a fortress. My slow discovery was a series of digital breadcrumbs. Started with a credit card statement, charged for a dinner at a ridiculously expensive restaurant in River North, a place called Alinea. The date was a Tuesday night. She was supposedly working late at the office. I called the restaurant, my voice shaking, and confirmed the reservation was for two. Then I found the texts. I know I shouldn't have looked, but a primal need for truth had taken over. One night while she was in the shower, I picked up her phone. It was locked, but a notification flashed on the screen from a name I didn't recognize. "Mark." The message preview was just a few words. "Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about you." The air left my lungs. It was him. The colleague from the dinner, it was real. As the weeks passed, Sarah grew colder, more manipulative. When I tried to talk to her, to ask what was wrong between us, she'd turn it on me. "You're being so needy lately," she'd snap. "I'm under a lot of pressure at work, and you're just adding to it. Maybe you're the one with the problem." She was a master of gaslighting, twisting my genuine concern into paranoia, making me feel like I was the one losing my mind. The warmth in our home evaporated, replaced by a tense, chilling silence. She was a stranger living in my house, and worse, she seemed to enjoy my confusion and pain. Her eyes, once full of love, now held a glint of contempt. Her and Mark, they felt untouchable. They were careless. I'd see his car parked a few blocks from our house on afternoons she claimed to be. Working from home, they were arrogant, believing I was too stupid, too blindly in love to ever figure it out. The smugness I saw on Mark's face at that dinner party now made perfect sense. He wasn't just a colleague. He thought he was the victor, the man who had conquered my wife and my life. And Sarah, my Sarah, was his willing accomplice, basking in the thrill of her secret life, while systematically dismantling mine. The night I found the second wedding ring was the night I finally broke. After staring at it for what felt like an eternity, I gently closed the box, placed it back exactly where I found it, and walked out of the bedroom. I went down to my basement workshop, surrounded by the tools and half-finished projects that once brought me joy, and I just collapsed. I sat on the cold concrete floor and wept. Not loud, dramatic sobs, but the silent, shoulder-shaking tears of a man whose entire world had just been proven a lie. Every memory, every I love you, every shared dream was now contaminated. It wasn't just infidelity. It was a second life, a whole other commitment. She wasn't just cheating on me. She was married to him, too. The betrayal was so profound, so absolute, it felt like a physical death. But in that darkness, something shifted.
Oh.
The grief curdled into a cold, hard resolve. She had broken me, yes. But I wouldn't stay broken. I would rebuild myself, piece by piece, into something else. Something stronger. Something that could deliver justice. My breakdown was over. It was time to work. From that moment on, I became a ghost in my own home. I was pleasant, agreeable, even distant. I stopped asking questions. I let her believe her lies were working. "I'm sorry I've been so stressed, babe," I told her one night, feigning exhaustion. "You were right. I need to give you more space." The relief in her eyes was sickening, but it was exactly what I wanted to see. While she lived her double life, I began my secret one. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop, who specialized in marital infidelity. He was expensive, but worth every penny. He provided me with a detailed dossier that was more damning than I could have ever imagined. Photos of Sarah and Mark kissing outside a boutique hotel on the Gold Coast, evidence they had taken trips together, not for work, but for romantic getaways. And the final nail in the coffin, a copy of a marriage license from a small town in Wisconsin, dated 6 months prior. They had a secret wedding. The ring I found wasn't a promise, it was a reality. I also started meticulously documenting our finances. Sarah had been funneling money from our joint savings account into a private one. She was building a nest egg for her new life with my money. I consulted with the best divorce attorney in Chicago, a woman known for her ruthless take-no-prisoners approach. We planned every step. The public exposure was planned with surgical precision. Sarah's marketing firm was holding its annual awards gala at a grand ballroom in the Drake Hotel. It was their biggest night of the year, the event she'd been looking forward to for months. Mark was slated to receive the Marketer of the Year award. It was perfect. I showed up playing the role of the supportive husband one last time. When it was Mark's turn to go on stage to accept his award, just as he was thanking his amazing team, the lights in the ballroom dimmed. The 2 large screens on either side of the stage, which were supposed to show a highlight reel of his work, flickered to life, but it wasn't his work on display. It was the PI's photos. Sarah and Mark kissing, holding hands on a beach, close-up of their Wisconsin marriage certificate. Collective gasp rippled through the hundreds of attendees. The final image was a high-resolution photo of the second wedding ring, the one from her vanity drawer. A single line of text appeared beneath it. Congratulations to Mark and Sarah on their secret marriage. The silence in the room was absolute. I watched Sarah's face drain of all color. Her eyes darted around, looking for an escape, but there was none. She looked at me, and for the first time she saw not the loving, naive husband, but the architect of her destruction. Mark stood frozen on the stage, his trophy forgotten in his hand. The CEO of their company was staring, his face a mask of fury. Their careers were over in that instant, their social lives in Chicago incinerated. Security discreetly escorted them out. As the lights came up, I didn't say a word. I just stood up, straightened my tie, and walked out of the ballroom, leaving the chaos behind me. The legal fallout was swift and brutal. My lawyer used the evidence of bigamy and financial fraud to ensure I got everything. The house, the savings, our investments. Sarah was left with nothing but her lies and a mountain of legal bills. She tried to reach out, sending desperate texts and voicemails, but I never responded. I changed my number and sold the Lincoln Park brownstone, erasing every trace of her from my life. I heard through the grapevine that Mark was fired immediately, and Sarah was forced to resign in disgrace. They were pariahs. Months have passed. I now live in a quiet apartment overlooking Lake Michigan. The winter is setting in, and the water is a cold, dark gray. Sometimes, I stand by the window and watch the waves crash against the shore. I don't feel joy or satisfaction. I don't feel triumph. I just feel quiet. The fire of my anger has burned out, leaving behind only the cold, hard emptiness of what was lost. She destroyed my world, so I destroyed hers. An eye for an eye, and now we are both blind. The end.